let's do this. Is that Cody? You're a draft guy. We know the draft is going to be coming up. But before the draft gets here, and while we're all looking at the combine and things, is that we're also going to be there's an important step in the off season that like Dave Gettleman used to say, you use free agency to set up your draft. Free agency is a critical component, especially if there were some changes in the background on the defensive side of the ball and you were to move to a 3-4, but it's going to be a critical component of the Panthers offseason. So this week, what we're going to begin is the process of previewing a potential free agent pick that the Panthers could make in addition to this team that could hopefully add to the rebuilding or the retooling, getting the Panthers back on track. This week, Cody, I think you wanted to start with the defense.
Yeah, so we made this before the news that, the rumor that we might be going to a 3-4, but I still think that even if we did go to a 3-4, this player would be a very good pickup for us. But with this in mind, this is with the mindset that we are still going to be running the same 4-3 defense in 2019. And today we premiere our segment of Better Know a Panthers free agent pick. Today, our first pick that we are going to be previewing on the show is New England Patriots defensive end Trey Flowers. And let me tell you what, Trey Flowers absolutely does it all. He is a dominant defensive lineman on the edge, and he has great pass rushing moves. He has a dominant stiff arm that he's able to use to disengage from the tackle, make some separation, and get inside. Trust me, Matt Ryan, as you're seeing here, remembers Trey Flowers well. Trey does a lot of things well. He is around 270 pounds, 6'4". This inside swim move that Trey Flowers has is absolutely nasty, and he uses it time and time again to be able to wreak havoc from the interior and the exterior of the defensive line. He has great awareness. He knows when the ball is coming his way. He gets his hands up in the way of the pass, and he's patient. He knows how to set up his moves and put himself in the right position to be able to affect the quarterback at all times. Trey Flowers might receive a contract from the Patriots, and he might not. But for my money, this dominant defensive end, he would be absolutely perfect on the Panthers defense. Trey Flowers is powerful, strong, and that bull rush that he displays, it's dominant, man. Trey Flowers is a dominant player, and if you put him on the offensive line, even with Mario Addison, even with K'Wan Short, he might be our most dominant player because we haven't had a true edge rusher to be able to win his assignments on the regular since Greg Hardy in 2013, in my opinion. Trey Flowers is a dominant player and would upgrade our defensive line a ton. We'd be way better than we are right now.
So what I like about this idea, first is a little background on Trey Flowers, is that Trey is he's a former fourth-round pick, 6'4". He was selected in 2015. He's 25 years old. He'll be 26 in August. Yeah. I think this is kind of a sweet spot for defensive ends because what a smash and grab this is in the draft to land this guy in the fourth round.
Yeah.
And to have some really, if you're going back and looking at that Atlanta Super Bowl, that's 2 Super Bowls ago. You're talking about a guy who balled out in that Super Bowl and also has just been a beast playing for the big contract in the postseason this year. Those are things that I like there is this is a guy who seems to be kind of a versatile defensive end, isn't just primarily and only based on a speed or an outside speed rush. I like that. I like the idea too that he's kind of in the sweet spot where he is settled into the NFL. I think it's a tough position. I've said it over and over when it comes to the defensive end. It's hard to make that jump, but kudos to the Patriots. And I don't want to say that, but like, this is what we need, man. We need
Absolutely.
to land somebody in the 4th round, very similar to Charles Johnson back in 2006 or whatever, who a couple of years down the road, you might as well assume that they were a 1st or 2nd round pick because of how well they've been playing. So last question here. Any way that this is feasible financially?
Well, so we haven't been through our list of players that we have to either sign or cut and let go. There's a few players that are on the books that we might clear out to be able to sign a player like this. But listen, I imagine that you don't want to go into the draft needing, so many different players. David Gettleman, another Gettleman-ism that I love to bring up is that you don't want to shop hungry. And if you go into the draft saying, man, I need 2 defensive ends, one to put where Julius Peppers was, and another for next year, 2020, if we use Mario Addison, you want to be able to fill some of those needs so that way you're in the position to be able to take the best player available. If you put Trey Flowers on the defensive line, I mean, listen, that's an instant upgrade of what we do. It puts us in a position to be able to grab a Devin White out of LSU, a Nasir Adley out of Delaware, even a
better question is what do you do if you don't add a guy in free agency who's a legit guy? What do you do? Like, is your defensive line again just going to be like this floundering thing? I mean, is that like Addison ain't getting better and younger, and now Julius Peppers on the other side is piecing out probably, or I mean, you can't count on that. So like this is going to take some radical stuff and it's got to be on the defensive side. It needs to be all linemen. There needs to be one on each side in free agency and one on each side in the draft.
It really does, man. I mean, football is won and lost in the trenches. And something that is kind of worrisome, if you look at Philadelphia and Los Angeles, the Rams, what they've done the past 2 years is they have gone and given every dominant player that they can money to come and compete for a Super Bowl right now. And the fact of the matter is the Panthers just don't have that kind of cap. I mean, we're not in the position to be able to go sign an Ndamukong Suh and Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters and all these different players, and they're grabbing from everywhere to say we're going to win this year. The Panthers just don't have that kind of cap. So if you're going to spend money on one player, you have to make sure that it is the player that makes you 100% better right now. And
that he's
young,
young and healthy.
25,
young and healthy. You cannot
in the prime of his career,
or potentially with a hidden injury. And if we can sign Matt Khalil, we can sign this guy. I don't know. Joey's asking what kind of money do you think he's going to make? I don't know. What are DNs making these days? Like upwards of $13 million a year?
So also keep in mind 2 other people that are free agents that might either up or lower the contract that Trey ends up grabbing. Jadeveon Clowney and DeMarcus Lawrence, who I'm positive at some point we will be previewing as well. But if I'm guessing right now, I'm thinking probably somewhere between $10 and $13 million a year, maybe 3 or 4.
It's gonna be higher probably. Ezekiel Ansah, I guess he was franchise tagged maybe this year. I'm not 100%. He got $17 million this year a year. You're looking at Chandler Jones is averaging about $16.5 million a year. Melvin Ingram 16, JPP 15. So you're up there in the 15, 16, 17 numbers probably.
The thing that does help us though is that his numbers. So a lot of times the players' numbers, they're not exactly indicative of how dominant he was on the field. But sometimes that'll help you out when you have to pay the player. So as of this season, he had 7.5 sacks on the year, but he has been a nightmare in run defense. And I also think that if you put him on this defense, and, K1 Short has to have a matchup of his own, and, maybe if you draft another player, you're putting Trey Flowers in a position to be on one-on-one matchups. And that's going to benefit him a lot. So I don't know. It could end up going higher, but I don't think that he has the numbers to command that, $18-20 million,
Von Miller money.
Yeah, not Von Miller money. I'm not thinking that that's what he's going to be able to get out there.
Well, so it could be a reasonable grab, maybe unreasonable. It never seems like we have any money. We only got 8 minutes left on the show. I actually